happy to see you again. As you know about superheroes, Batman, Superman, Iron Man, many from Marvel, DC Group, and a lot. But do you know who, make it up? Well, let's find out today. He is, ta-da! Stan Lee. I think this book is very beautiful. I like how they make that, swirly thing, which is very beautiful, lovely. And I love how the book goes. And it's my new one. And I have read it yesterday, and I really wanted to tell you this. Stan just died on November 2018, so it's just near here. This book is just, they publish it. I don't know when they publish, but I'm sure they publish in some month, which is not, on November, so they don't know about he died or not. It just tells, so it just says who he is, so you don't need to worry about that. Okay, let's don't waste our time, and now let's start reading it. Stan Lee Lieber was born on December 28, 1922 in New York City. His father, Jack, and mother, Celia, were from Romania. You know Romania, right? It's in Europe. It's just a small country. So here's Stan. He's like an Israeli boy. But yeah, because his nose were like this, so I thought he was from Israel. But Israel. But after reading this book, he's from Romania. Like millions of people, they had come to the United States with dreams of a better life. Like, people came to the United States, maybe wanted to change their life, such as they want their children to go to America to study approach at maybe Harvard, Columbia, many more in the Ivy list, or maybe different university. There's a lot. Jack got a job cutting fabric at a dress factory. He was paid very little and worked long hours. Celia stayed home and took care of Stan. By the time Stan Lee was 6, the Great Depression had begun. Millions of people lost their jobs, including Stan's father. The Lieber family moved to an even smaller apartment. Jack and Celia had to sleep on a cot in the living room. There was only a tiny window, and it faced a brick wall. I'm trying to highlight it shorter so that you could concentrate and hear about the details. So here's Jack's appearance and him. I think they trimmed his mom's head was so big. Yeah, that's right. His mom's head was so big. Mother head. When Stan was 9, his brother Larry was born. So here's his brother Larry. Right here, and that's him. He looked like a teenager. I don't think he's 9, but yes, he looked like a teenager to me. Stan was not afraid of hard work. He took any job he could get. He worked for a news company. He delivered sandwiches, and he worked in the office of a company that made pants. Even as he worked to help his family, Stan kept writing, and he was getting good at it. So like for grammars and, thing exactly for writing, maybe story, a book, or novel, so you need to learn those. And he was getting good at it. A local newspaper sponsored a writing contest. Stan won so many times, the newspaper asked him to stop entering. So every time he entered the contest, he won it. So he win like so many times. So they need a different person to win this, not just him. So here's Stan working, I think, at a news company. So I printed out paper. In 1939, when Stan just 16, he graduated from DeWitt Clinton High School. I forgot to tell you about this part. He was the youngest in class. That's why he skipped so many classes and was just 16. Yeah. Wait a minute. So you 11, you in 6th grade. Maybe skip that part. With the help of his cousin Gene, he got a job at Timely, a publishing company run by Martin Goodman. Timely published more than 2 dozen magazines out of its Manhattan office. Some feature adventure stories set in the Old West. Others were about science and health. Stan was assigned to Timely's comics department. Joey Simon was the top editor, the man in charge of all words on the page. So he edited the maybe grammars, that maybe the sentence like such as the cat usually is, so that's wrong, you need to fix it. So is the cat usually, and take that is away. So yes, he edited with that. Jack Kirby was the best artist at Timeline. These 2 men were influenced on Stan, but they weren't friendly. When Stan first arrived, they barely looked up. In those first days on the job, Stan worked as a gopher, somebody who does whatever the boss needs. Though he was paid only $8 a week, Stan didn't mind. He was proud to working at Timely. Yes, Timely. I don't know how to pronounce Timely or Timely, but yeah, I think Timely. Stan commuted every day from Bronxtown to Timely's office on 42nd Street. The room Joey and Jack worked in was nothing special. Jack would sit at his drawing board. Joey would pace around the room. Stan sometimes joked that he couldn't see them through all the cigar smoke. So they were smoking. At that time, there was fierce competition from other comic companies. DC Comics had created Superman and Batman timeless. 2 superheroes were less famous. In 1914, Joey Simon and Jack Kirby created Captain America for Timeline Comics. World War II was raging in Europe, and Simon and Kirby were horrified by what they had heard about Adolf Hitler. Captain America missions to fight Nazi Germany. He wore a red, white, and blue costume, the same color as the American flag. He carried a shield that could stop bullets. The first issue was a huge success. It sold 1 million copies. Superman had competition. One day, Joey Simon called Stan over. He asked if Stan would be able to write a story for a new issue of Captain America. Stan was thrilled. He turned a story called Captain America Foils the Traitor Revenge. Nobody said much about his first story. Stan didn't mind. So here's, the comic book. This looks so, dizzy. I read comic book in Vietnam, and I think it's not dizzy at all, but I think this book, if you read the letters, you could turn dizzy. After the traitor's revenge, Stan began to write more. As he wrote, Stan decided to use a pen name instead of his real name. He considered headline hunter, French correspondent Stan Martin, and even Newsnet, which almost Stan Lee spelled backward. Stan didn't want to use his full name, Stanley Lipper. Finally, he settled on a permanent pen name, Stanley, both his name cut in half. So Stanley Lipper, he cut them in Stan, and Lee he added 2 W-E. So it's become Stanley. As Stan was assigned more writing jobs, Joey and Jack were assigned fewer. Mr. Goodman could be difficult. He didn't like to pay the artists much, and they were not happy about it. So Joey and Jack decided to quit. Stan had lots of ideas for stories, but couldn't draw well, so he worked closely with the artists. He also continued as a company's editor, thought it sometimes hard to be an 18-year-old boss. Oh my goodness. About a year, Stan ran timeline and wrote whatever Mr. Goodman wanted. He wrote Western, mysterious, and horror, and even some romance story. As much as Stan loved his job, he was distraught. The United States had entered World War II, successful by Theodore Roosevelt. In that time, so he went to join the World War II to help Europe get out of Hitler and maybe Germany. He decided to volunteer for the army and report the duty in the winter of 1942. So he joined the army. When World War II ended, Stan returned to New York to take over again Timely's editor. It was shopkeep for 25 years until 1972 when he became publisher. Stan was having a time of his life. He rented a 2-room apartment in the Almanac Hotel and bought a big white car. A friend wanted to introduce Stan to a model named Betty. His friend thought that Betty and Stan would make a great couple. When Stan showed up at the modeling agency, the most beautiful woman he had ever answered the door. There was only one problem. She wasn't Betty. She was a young woman named Joan Clayton Bucock. It was so hard to read. She had moved from England to New York to work as a hat model. In the 1940s, women wore hat every day, and hat models had to be beautiful. You know, Coco Chanel, isn't it? Yes. So she designed hats, and in the time, French women and maybe European women wear a lot of hats. So that's why she's from England. And I see maybe some of like royals. They wear hats for events, special events, not just special events. If you go on Google and I see the news about Meghan and then Harry and about Queen Elizabeth, they also said about, you know, I also see the hat in the picture. So yeah, many people wear hats. Even rich person, they also wear hats in that time. Now, even if you're royal, you need to wear a hat. I don't know why, maybe that's special. So here's a picture of Joan. She looked beautiful at that time. I love how the curly hair, how she made me remember about Jacqueline Kennedy. Jacqueline Kennedy was just like her with the curly hair, but her face. Jacqueline Kennedy's face was like square face or something. It's maybe pointy in the chin, if I remember. Okay, but Jacqueline Kennedy hair just go up like this, not curly. Let's not talk about that and move on. On December 5, 5th, 1947, Stan and Joan became husband and wife. Stan was thrilled and called his beautiful new bride Joni. The young couple moved to an apartment close to Timeless office in Manhattan. The place was so small it barely fit more than their bed, but Stan and Joni didn't mind. They spent nights out dancing with their friends. Life was great. 2 years later, Stan and Joan moved to a house on Long Island, just outside of New York City. Stan's younger brother, Larry, was only 15 years old. He moved into the new house with Stan and Joni. So here's the picture that they married. I think Joni wore a simple dress, not glorious dress, gorgeous dress. And it's a good thing they had much more space. So after moving to Long Island, in 1950, Stan and Joan had a baby girl, Joan Celia. So I think Stan named the baby like that because Joan came from his wife and Celia came from his mom. It was so let me show you a picture. I think she looked like a tomboy at the time, leaving her hair like this. It was difficult not to notice Stan when he was hard at work. While he wrote comic books, Stan liked to read all words out loud. It helped him make the superhero sound right. Pow! Zap! He would shout almost the dramatic parts. That's funny. Not everybody loved comics book as Stan did. Starting in the early 1940s, some adults complained that comic books were bad for children. Why? They were filled with violence, bloody details, and horrific stories. People were afraid of the comics book would influence young people in a dangerous way. But in 1954, Frederick Wortham, a child psychologist, wrote a book called Seduction of the Innocent. Dr. Wortham said that comics were dangerous to children. His ideas led the congressional hearing in Washington, D.C. about whether to outlaw comics book. So they allowed not to read comic book anymore because in comics book they're just silly thing and show the bloody, when the superhero fight and they died and so blood. So parents think horrified, silly. Some store even stopped selling them to children. So even if they had the comic books, they didn't sell them to children. The congressional hearing had a huge impact on sales. 15 comic book companies went out of business in 1954 alone. The remaining publishers did their best to survive. Together, they found the Comics Code Authority. They wrote their own rules to make sure comics book didn't include stories that would upset parents or politicians. The Comics Code Authority had to approve every comic before it was printed. So they needed to check, is the story good? Maybe the publisher need to check, okay, the story didn't have those bad parts that children would read, and they say, oh, maybe I'll do that. So they check that before they print out the color. By 1960, Stan had been working on comic book for 20 years, but he really wasn't having much fun anymore. Comic books were not selling. Kids were more interested in television shows and rock and roll music than old superheroes. He told Joni that he was going to quit. He was planning to stop into Mr. Goodman's office and tell him that he was through with comics. There was only one problem, so he wanted to quit his job. Just when he was ready to quit, Mr. Goodman offered Stan an exciting new challenge. A rival company, DC Comics, had just put out a comic book, the Justice League of America. I'm about to show you the picture, but It's have nothing, just Mr. Goodman, Stanley having the book, just like America. Instead of just one superhero, a comic book includes 7 of them working as a team. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, the Flash, Green Lantern, Aquaman, and Martian Manhunter. Stan didn't want to just bring back old character, so after writing that book, he started to write another one. So he didn't want to bring back the old character such as Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, Captain America. Those are just too old. And Stan knew exactly who could help him. His old partner, Jack Kirby, I have to tell you. It had been years since Jack had quit his regular shop at Timeline Comics. But starting in 1958, Jack had been taking assignment from Stan. The Fantastic Four were led by the brilliant scientist Reed Richards. Sue Storm hoped to marry Reed one day. Sue's younger brother Johnny Storm as the 3rd member of the team, but Stan Jack's rated creation was the final member of the Fantastic Four, Ben Grimm. It's like the Grimm brother. It's like Ben Grimm. Ben's a military pilot who was a friend of Reed's. It was Reed's dreams to travel outer space. He built a spacecraft and invited Ben, Sue, and Johnny along. While in space, they were blasted by radiation, which gave each of them special powers. So here's maybe the spacecraft. And inside things front is Ben. This is Reed. I think this is Richard. Reed. Yes, Reed. Sue. Reed. But Ben became deformed. The radiation turned him to a giant creature with an orange rock-like skin. Depressed, Ben renamed himself The Thing. The Thing was a new kind of superhero. He grumbled his roll eyes. He wished he could go back being normal self, but he was incredibly loyal and also believed in fighting crime. Reed became Big Mouth Mr. Fantastic. Sue Storm became the Invisible Girl. Joy Stone, who could now burst into flames at will, became the new Human Torch. So here's the comic book Fantastic Four. So comic last time they have maybe drill and write Scrabble. So we just as I told you from the first start. As a boy, Stan had read Robert Louis Stevenson's The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. The book told the story of one of the men who was 2 very different personalities. Dr. Jekyll was a very good person, but as Mr. Hyde, he was evil. For the new character, Stan came up with his own version of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Dr. Bruce Banner was a mild-mannered scientist, but when he lost his temper or felt panic, he turned to a green monster, the Hulk. I think you know the Hulk, right? His big muscle and wearing pants like this, ripped pants. The Hulk first appeared in 1962 in The Incredible Hulk 1 and became instantly popular among comic book fans. Stan's next comic team was a group of outcast moments called X-Men. Professor Xavier, their mentor, showed them that they could also be heroes. Stan called his younger brother Larry. Larry Lieber had gone to art school and done some writing for Stan. Now they began to work together more closely. Over the next 2 years, Stan and Larry could help create 2 of the most popular characters, Thor and Iron Man. You know, Thor, he told what is that word again? A hammer, a big rock. It's like bam with that. And Iron Man was, film Iron Man. I think you know it. Popular. When Larry got tired of drawing those characters, he launched a Western series called Rawhide Kid. Stan kept coming up with new characters, including Daredevil and Ant-Man. In the 1950s, Mr. Goodman had changed Timeline's name to Atlas Comics, but Stan had thought the company needed a fresher name. Times were changing. Stan was developing new comics with new style and approach. All thought he had gone back to using superheroes. The new wave, the crime fighter, was different. Stan remembered the title used one of early comic books published by Timeline. Marvel, he liked the sound of that, and Mr. Goodman agreed. So now it's in Marvel Studio. Stan said he came up with the idea for Spider-Man after watching a fly climb up a wall. Stan struggled to come up with a good name. Flyman or Insect Man didn't sound right. It sounded weird, of course. Then Stan thought of Spider-Man. That could work. He originally wanted to ask artist Jack Kirby to draw the new character, but decided that Jack's drawing were not right. Jack made Spider-Man look too heroic, too powerful. Spider-Man was really Peter Parker, a geeky teenager who was unsure of himself. He got pushed around school by a football star named Flash Thompson. When a radioactive spider bit Peter and gave him the special powers. The shy boy could suddenly stick to walls and ceiling as if he had suction cups for him. He was also super strong. To create his new superhero, Stan found an artistic partner, Steve Ditko. He had no problem making Peter Parker different. He would not be a shy and muscle-bound hero, but when Peter transformed to Spider-Man, he was strong like classic superhero with new look and costume designed by Steve. So here's Steve Ditko. He designed the costume for Spider-Man. I think it's great, incredible. Just look. Perfect. Spider-Man first appeared in a comic book in June 1962. In 1972, when Mr. Goodman officially retired as publisher, Stan got a promotion. He became the publisher of Marvel. Roy Thomas, a writer who had been working on X-Men, became Marvel's editor. As publisher, Stan could focus on new ideas. Television was easy. In 1977, The Incredible Hulk made its premiere on TV. Stan was not in charge of the show, but he did have an important role. The producer of Incredible Hulk wanted the Hulk to be red, not green. Stan said no, the Hulk had to be green. Just imagine if the Hulk red, it looks so weird. I like green better than red because red is like bloody. Maybe too strong. Say if maybe someone killed him, he'd have blood out. Have red body and still didn't see the blood, but if it's green, maybe someone killed him, you can see the blood. That's all. I think maybe that's an easy thinking of mine. What about you? And tell me in the comments, okay? I really want to know how do you think. If you like, and tell me about your imagination if Hulk be green or red. In 1978, everything changed when the movie Superman came out. Actor Christopher Reeve plays Superman. So here's Superman. Ta-da! Stan began to meet with Hollywood producer, and in 1980, he and Joni moved to Los Angeles. They bought the house in West Hollywood, overlooking the Sunset Strip, a glamorous part of the city full of stores, restaurants, and rock clubs. It was so exciting. Tracy, which is Stan and Shani's daughter, worked as a model and began painting. Her parents were thrilled to go to her first art show. Finally, in 1996, Marvel went bankrupt. The company was broke, but Stan never gave up. He knew the Marvel family of characters would someday find new fans on a big screen. He also knew that Marvel needed him. everybody knew Stanley, of course. He was famous for writing comics book. To relaunch Marvel, the new owners came up with a plan. They created a department within Marvel that was devoted exclusively to making movies. They call it Marvel Studios. A man named Avi Art was put in charge. Avi had grown up in Israel, reading Spider-Man comic book and translated it to Hebrew. He was thrilled to have Stan giving him advice. With Avi in charge, Marvel finally got to get films made. Blade came first in 1998, based on a superhero who hunts vampires. The first X-Men movie came out in 2000 and was even bigger. Critics love it and crowds flocked to theater. X-Men earned $200 million. The film also features Stan's first appearance in Marvel film. 2 years later, Spider-Man was finally released. So look at the crowd. It was like, oh, covering up all theater, movie theater. Iron Man came out in 2008 with Robert Downey Jr. starring as billionaire adventurer Tony Stark. Stan thought Robert Downey Jr. was born to play Stark. The actor was perfect for the role. Iron Man was such a smash. It led to sequels. Stan kept busy all the time. He created another company, started his own YouTube channel, and narrated a series of video games. He also makes appearances regularly at comic conventions. And he have been printed star, like the star, you know? You're famous. And I really want to be printed there, but yeah, that's never came true. I really don't want to, be alive as a star. So finish. How do you think about this book? I think it's wonderful, great, perfect for people who have imaginary brain and love superheroes would love this book. If you wanted this, buy this book, come to my house, A&A Bookstore to buy them. And thank you for watching my video today. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. Comments down below. If you're watching YouTube, please subscribe and comment down below. I already said that. I already get mixed up. But yes, hope you have a nice weekend with your family. Enjoy it. And I think you're off on Monday, right? So enjoy that. Bye bye for now. Bye.